wish to respond as follows. The Supreme Court advisory opinion. This was not a binding decision. It was not a decree. It was just an advice to the governors on nomination of the deputy governors. Despite all that, Mr. Chair, I complied with the Supreme Court advisory opinion by forwarding a name of one Miguna to the Nairobi County Assembly for approval. But the same Mr. Chair was rejected by the County Assembly. I do not have control over the County Assembly, Mr. Chair. They have their own legislative mandate given to them by the Constitution. They have the oversight responsibility also of thank you. So I think, Mr. Chair, I have shown goodwill. I have shown intent, my intention to nominate a deputy governor. So I complied with that particular advisory opinion from the Supreme Court. However, Mr. Chair, from what transpired from the floor of the House, for this matter to be referred to this committee. Mr. Chair, I was once a senator. I understand the standing orders of the Senate. I respect the Senate. This is a house of integrity. But going back to what transpired on the floor of the House, Mr. Chair, I've got the certified Hansard here with me. And Mr. Chair, before I go to the Hansard, allow me to state this, Mr. Chair. There is no legislation to compel me to nominate a DG. I've shown goodwill. And by talking about goodwill, Mr. Chair, sometimes around December, when I was reconstituting my cabinet, I was just about to release another nominee or another name to forward to the County Assembly. But Mr. Chair, allow me to state this, that in the spirit of handshake, I received 2 letters from the NASA coalition. And I also received a communication, verbal one, from the NASA leader.
Let me, Governor, I would want any information that you say when you tell us about letters, you table the letters so that it, because. I was just about to do that. Okay, okay.
Thank you, sir. So first, let me first comply with your directive. I have several letters here, Mr. Chair, from the NASA party headquarters in regards to the appointment of deputy governor. The first letter, Mr. Chair, was received on 10th of January 2019. And before this letter, the Wiper leader, Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, called me and told me that he met the president and he had a proposal to make, and this is the proposal the NASA made to me. Maybe just in brief, the letter is dated 10th of January 2019. Their reference is NASA stroke ADM stroke 41 stroke 17, addressed to H.E. Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Governor Nairobi City County. And maybe I'll read the contents of the letter as I give it to you, Mr. Chair.
Governor, it will appropriate, just table it.
Okay.
So that we
I wish to table the letter dated 10th January 2019. from the and signed by Norman Bagaya, Chief Executive, NASA. I just tabled the letter, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, when I was just about to name my DG for the second time now after the rejection of Miguna by the Nairobi County Assembly, I received another communication from NASA. This is not NASA, Raila Odinga Presidential Campaign Secretariat, Capitol Hill, 4th floor. I'll not read the contents, I just forward the letter to you as evidence. Dated 14th January 2019, dear sir, the earlier letter, Mr. Chair, the party proposed that I pick one Rahab Ndambuki as Deputy Governor nominee, Nairobi City County. In their second letter, Mr. Chair, and a day before I received an official communication from the party leader of NASA, that is one Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, which followed this communication, also signed by the same Norman Bagaya, the Chief Executive of NASA. And in this second letter, the NASA coalition is recommending for the nomination of one Jane Murigi Wangoi. I wish to table the letter, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I also received some communication through email. With time, I'll just print and forward to you from Raphael Tuju, the Jubilee Party SG. After receiving all this, Mr. Chair, I did not announce the second nominee after the rejection of Miguna because of these proposals in the spirit of handshake from NASA. So I had to consult because Jubilee Party does not belong to me. I'm a Jubilee elected governor. So as I was still consulting, Mr. Chair, so many things came up, including the amendment on county government bill, which was passed by the Senate and forwarded to the National Assembly with the recommendations. And within my knowledge, I've learned that the National Assembly rejected some of the recommendations made by this Honorable House, Mr. Chair. And I'm meant to understand, because I was once a senator of this House, and I've consulted the legal department of the Senate. So I've come to understand that the matter is pending mediation by the both houses, Mr. Chair. So there is no legislation that compels me to immediately appoint a deputy governor without further consultation, Mr. Chair. However, looking at this Hansard, Mr. Chair, when the respected, distinguished Super Senator of Nairobi City County, Senator Sakaja, Article 96, I agree with you, mandates the senator to do the oversight responsibility over me. As his best friend, we campaign together. I'll come to that later, Mr. Chair, but I think the senator, if he was genuine, he could have summoned me. He's my friend. We campaign together. Even I'm shocked, just 2 days ago, he sent me photos of us campaigning together. Yeah. So before bringing this matter to this committee, which I regard this matter as an issue in this sense, the leadership of Senate, led by Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, dismissed this issue by Nairobi Senator, that there is an ongoing legislation by the Senate and the National Assembly. The ball is in the court of this House, Mr. Chair, to make sure that this legislation is passed. Then if I don't comply with it, you summon me. So I think there was no need of calling honorable senators from recess to come and deal with this non-issue. And previously, Mr. Chair, I've shown goodwill by nominating Miguna. I had a name which was ready. I received communication from NASA. In the spirit of handshake, I complied with that communication.
Governor, let me put it to you.
Yes.